When thinking about new music, especially in dealing with concert music, it's often the new and unfamiliar that seems to be sometimes dreaded by audiences who are more apt to be curious about the known, the earlier repertoire. But when you look in the pop field, for example, it's really the new music that people are interested in. And it seems to me what we ought to do is try to inculcate into the concert world this notion that new can be interesting, can be exciting, can be reinvigorating the process of a new repertoire. You simply cannot play the same 100 war horses endlessly in the orchestra and hope to maintain an audience, it seems to me, as well as those pieces might be engaged. It seems if it's going to survive, it has to have an infusion of new perspectives, new possibilities, new musical venues that need to be considered. And that requires works by living musicians. And that's what this Ford Made in America commissioning project is really all about. As a musician in the 21st century who, looking back on my life, has experienced just an extraordinarily diverse wealth of music, not only popular music, but world music, music from other countries, you absorb all of that and you try to figure out where you fit in to this kind of larger picture. And so the influences are everywhere. And there are certainly composers whose music I've favored myself over the years. A composer like George Crumb, for example, who's one of our most important composers, is a composer whose music I find endlessly fascinating. I could never fail to go to his work and find new and interesting sonic delights. It's like a really wonderful, rich meal that every time you come to it, you look forward to it, and new things are revealed in the tastes and the colors. But we live in a culture that has such a multiplicity of different perspectives. It makes it difficult. It really makes it difficult for audiences to try to assess what they hear when they're hearing a new work of mine and they may be completely unfamiliar with my work. How do they assess if this makes any sense to them when they only possibly have one opportunity that evening to digest what it is that they hear? They're put at a very great disadvantage. So it seems to me it behooves the ensembles that are going to present not only the great classics that are such a standard of the repertoire, but if they're going to do new music, they need to prepare it carefully to give the audience the appropriate opportunity to digest this music. It may be playing more than one work of a composer on a concert, for example, as one possible strategy. And there are many other strategies that allow this educative process to begin to familiarize the audience with new music. When I was in St. Louis in the 80s as the composer in residence, I had a multiplicity of responsibilities. In addition to writing music for the orchestra, I was a spokesman for new music as a representative of the orchestra, and I would speak to all kinds of groups, university groups, flower clubs. I mean, I did radio shows. And one day, after I did one specific radio show that involved a piece of mine, I went to the concert that night. The piece was performed, and during intermission, I came out into the foyer. And a very tall gentleman with a cowboy hat and a red shirt and cowboy boots came up to me. And he said, you know, I heard your radio show on the way through St. Louis, and I thought that I had to stop and hear the concert. He said, by the way, my 18-wheeler is parked outside. So now the truck driver would have been the last person in the world that I would have thought might have stopped to attend a St. Louis Symphony concert with a brand new work of a composer whose music he had never heard. So we make these small advances, one person at a time, one audience member at a time.